Thursday, November the 11th, 2021. Bulow Plantation State Park, Flagler County, Florida. Maybe Ormond Beach, maybe still Volusia County, but here we are. Good afternoon for a hike. Veterans Day 2021. Just saw a turtle in its little burrow or house or whatever you want to call it. And first I thought it was like a drain. And then I looked a little bit more and I thought, maybe it's a place for oil, because it was kind of dark, you'll see in the picture. Then I saw the little head. Well, not so little, and it's a turtle. And it's home, enjoying the afternoon. Quiet today, peaceful. Temperature is it's about 80 degrees. Good day.
Good afternoon. I think it was morning.
Hey, if you want to see a turtle in its little burrow or home, whatever you want to call it, my car is the black Fiat. As soon as you get out the trail.
Okay.
Left front tire, look straight ahead and down. He's sitting in his house.
Well, look for it.
Interesting tree. Some people take pictures inside that tree. A three-legged tree. Looks like it has some fire damage. And we're coming up on the plantation ruins. Welcome to Bullowville, the plantation my father, Charles Wilhelm Bulow, purchased and began to develop in 1821. Not much is left now, but between 1823 and 1836, when the Seminole Indians burned the plantation at the beginning of the Second Seminole War, Bullowville was one of the largest sugar plantations in East Florida. Sugar planting and milling really took off in East Florida after the United States of America obtained Florida as a territory in 1821. People hoped that Florida could produce sugar for the United States like our neighbor, Louisiana. Of some 12 sugar plantations stretching from St. Augustine to Cape Canaveral during this period, Bullowville was one of the largest and wealthiest. 1,000 of my 6,675-acre plantation were planted in sugarcane. And here's the mill. What's left of it? It was burned by the Seminoles in 1836. Sugarcane was planted in January, February, was ready for harvesting by mid-October. Field workers cut the cane and loaded it onto wagons and brought it to the mill here for processing. Driven by sweat and steam. So this was run by steam. This building housed the engine that produced steam to power the sugar mill. A pipe carried steam from this building to the second floor of the sugar house, where the large 3-roller cane press was located. You can see the sugar house just beyond this building. When the sugar mill was not operating, the steam from the boiler house powered the plantation sawmill. What's it say right there? Right up here, I haven't a clue. It says something. Ah, the little fire, the little place with the fire pit underneath there. Oh, I missed the well. There's the well also. The well. Well supplied water for the boiler that produced steam to operate the mill's cane crushing machinery. Boiler and machinery. A large long boiler and furnace filled the right half of this room. Steam from the boiler was piped to an engine on the second floor of the building to your right. This engine operated a large gear that turned the rollers to crush the cane. A sawmill 18 feet beyond this sign was run by the same steam engine. as the sugar mill when sugar was not being made. Burlowville, January 26th, 1831. Another well, exact use unknown. Personal provisions, feeding the plantation population. Along with sugarcane, I also grew cotton, corn, and rice on my plantation, in addition to vegetables for my personal use. Livestock or game provided meat for my table. To preserve food, we cured our meats and kept the food cool in spring houses. Cool water from the spring helped keep items in the spring house from spoiling. Slaves on plantations would not typically have access to a spring house to preserve their food. In addition to staples I provided, such as cornmeal, they ate vegetable from their garden plots, small game they were able to hunt and kill, or fish they caught. Cane juice. Cane was placed on a conveyor starting here. The conveyor, about 3 feet wide, lifted it to the roller crushers on the second floor. The juice ran into settling vats. The crushed cane, called the bagasse, came out the opposite side of this building and was hauled away in carts. Kettles in operation. The juice flowed from the settling vats on the second floor into the grande, the largest of 5 kettles built into the furnace below. The grande was also the coolest, being furthest from the battery kettle under which the furnace was fired. The chimney draft pulled heat from this fire through the furnace to heat the other kettles. The heated juice was hand-dipped from the larger to the smaller kettle and ended as syrup in the battery, the smallest and hottest. Here it reached the strike, sugar stage. It was then ladled into a trough and flowed into large wooden cooling vats to harden. After hardening, it was spaded into slices, carried into small tubes to the purgery, curing room, and packed in hogsheads wooden barrels. Getting sugar out of the sugar cane was very hard work. Not only did the slaves have to cut the cane exactly when it was mature, they had to crush it and boil the juice as soon as possible in order to get the most and best sugar out of the crop. During sugar making season, everyone worked around the clock to make sure the job was done right. Here at the sugar house, my slaves placed cut cane on a conveyor belt that carried the stalks to the rollers to be crushed. Cane juice was then gravity fed into the clarifiers and to in a series of kettles heated by a furnace, and they called that the Jamaica train. My slaves ladled boiling juice from kettle to kettle until it finally granulated in the battery. They then struck the juice and removed it to vats to cool. just a spoonful of sugar. After granulating and cooling in the sugar house, my sugar was still not ready to ship out. Although it was granulated, the sugar was still wet with molasses. Slaves scored and spaded this cooled sugar into hogsheads or large barrels, located in 2 curing rooms on either side of the loading area. These hogsheads could hold about 1,000 pounds of sugar. In the warm curing rooms, the slaves placed the hogsheads on boards over cisterns. Open joints in the barrels and tubes made of cane, fixed into hogsheads, allowed the molasses to drain out of the barrels and into the containers below, a process that took 30 days. Once the molasses drained from the sugar, slaves filled the hogsheads up with more sugar, and they were ready to ship. Some plantations, such as Dumont, had their own distilleries to make rum from molasses, but mine did not. Curing room perjury. The hogsheads were kept in this warm curing room for 20 to 30 days until all the molasses had dripped from the sugar into a cistern located in the recess beneath. The molasses was sold for making rum. The partly empty hogsheads were then refilled with sugar and stored. The last step was getting it ready to ship. And it traveled by wagon to Bulow Creek. So the boats ran it down the creek to the Halifax River, down to Ponce de Leon Inlet, where it was loaded onto boats bound for Jacksonville, St. Augustine, and Savannah. Hogsheads were stored on the room above this room and lowered through the opening onto wagons below. Wagons left through these archways and hauled the sugar by boat. And the cooling room or perjury. Here's the artifacts they found here. Here's a grinder and sugar kettle. Burlowville. The great house burned down in a fire. Ah, the boat slips. I wonder if that's a trail. Maybe next time. Here's where the main house was. "13-mile canoe trail." Now it's 6 miles to High Bridge. John Audubon stayed here. Search of birds for his work, 1832. I wonder why this area is fenced in. I don't see any signs. Ah, a little water lily pond. It's made out of some of the runes. Is this a bird bath?